All right, you guys. So I'm here with my good friend Jim Ingersoll. Jim, for the folks who've been living underneath the rock, do you mind giving a an overview of your experience in real estate? Where are you based out of, and basically what do you do in real estate?
Okay, well, I'm in Richmond, Virginia. I've been investing the last almost 20 years now, Courtney. It's like I can't believe this milestone's coming up, but it really is. Because of that, I've been through a lot of cycles and a lot of stuff.
Sure.
But very active investor even today. I just bought another duplex. I think we bought like three in the last month or something.
Are these going
And
to be rentals?
yeah, I love to buy and hold, but I do some flips along the way. And when I first started leaving corporate America, I did so by wholesaling. So I've done wholesaling, seller financing, lease options, like the whole gamut.
Sure.
Life
And
changing.
yeah, so you've done a ton so of different strategies. So the question of the year for 2024 is debt or no debt on rentals. What is your philosophy around it, and has it ever changed? And if so, what caused it to change?
Well, I love debt. So I love talking about debt, and leverage is such an important topic. And I've been watching your videos. They're amazing. What a
Oh, thank you.
great perspective people can put together with different folks. And I happen to love debt, but I hate personal debt. So get rid of your personal debt. But I'm
Yeah,
good with real estate debt. I absolutely love it because we don't have to pay for it ourselves. And we build wealth along the way through amortization and appreciation and all the other benefits. But I think it can change a little bit, Courtney, because when you're first starting out, you've got to have leverage or you can't get going. Like when I started, I didn't have very much money,
yeah,
like everyone else, right?
yeah. That's most people's
So
story.
that's the starting point. And if that's your starting point, you're not going to go very far using your own cash.
Yeah,
And so I wouldn't, if you're a beginner, don't allow the fear of debt to hold you back. Just learn to use leverage the right way. And there's all different types of financing. I believe everyone should be a financing master. It's not hard to master it. And, short term, and a lot of us use both short term debt and long term debt, and we apply it together. But then, like as you're going through your career or your investing life, you begin to have the opportunity to have some things free and clear along the way. And
yeah,
that creates nice freedom as well, because even if you go free and clear, if you have like an amazing deal come up and you need cash, you can always refi back
right.
tax free. So I like the idea of refining because of the tax free elements as well.
Yeah. What does it mean to you for someone to be a master of financing? When you said that earlier, you think you
Okay.
could do that. What does that mean?
Well, here's the thing. Like I started with Jack Miller and Peter Fortunato and all those amazing mentors. I mean, they changed my life. And they were so good at like the private financing side. And I think it's really important to get good relationships with private money lenders, shorter term and longer term. Also know how to craft a deal and structure it for seller financing and all
Cool.
those things. Leon Johnson's really good at that.
Yes.
And so you gotta understand how to create notes and how to talk to people and all of that. But the missing element at the beginning of my journey into real estate was the banking financing.
Yeah.
And we're coming out of a time where we had generationally low
Yeah.
rates. I don't
Right.
think they're ever going back to what they were.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I know under Pete's, in Jack's
Yeah,
tutelage, right? It's always kind of been anti-bank, which I
I know.
understand their position, but I'll be honest, other than a line of credit 10 years ago, I haven't gone to the banks a lot because I felt I was unbankable as a self-employed person, but I've been
Right.
self-employed for, at this point almost a decade. When I went, full time. But there's a level that especially when we were at the 2 3 4%, you know so an owner occupant was at 2 point something.
Right.
Well, an investment loan for at 4%, I mean,
Right.
that's when logic should have really pushed me into those banking offices and said, hey, you know what, I'm kind of allergic to this, but
Yeah.
it was almost that point. But I definitely like the thought of, teaching people to be a master of their
I
craft,
do too.
or, being a master of their craft of being able to figure out how to finance stuff. Um,
Financing is what unlocks the wealth building. And and believe me, I love Jack Miller and Peter Fortunato, all these guys. Leon, I learned so much from all of them, but none of them taught about bank financing. So the
right,
last like 3 or 4 years, I've been trying to teach a lot more on bank financing because people have the self-limiting belief, just like you did, Courtney. Like I'm self-employed, I don't have reportable income, I can't get a loan.
right,
And that is not true at all.
right.
So, and then like we had unbelievable rates 4.5, 5.5%. And even on a commercial loan, you could negotiate your renewals to 10 years. So
Yeah,
you're fixed for 10 years minimum. And then along came DSCR loans,
yeah.
which I could talk about the
Change the game.
positives and negatives of all of that, but 30 years fixed. The
Right.
last DSCR loan I did was under 6 and it's 30 years fixed is pretty nice.
Yeah. And so I appreciate that. I do think that uh, there is a case for investors to not be, allergic to the banks and to
I
understand that
agree.
the role it can play. Whether it's something more like a DSCR or it's just actually going to the community local banks and establishing those relationships.
Especially if you're gonna do larger deals, then it becomes more, I mean, I've done seller financing on a 20 unit apartment building. I've
Mhm.
done a 32 unit apartment building with seller financing too. So those are out there, but if you're looking to scale,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to have some element of some bank financing.
Yeah. No, I think that that's an important topic. A lot of people come to me and I'm like, they're like, hey, I want to build from the ground up, but how can I get seller financing? I'm like, that's when you like there's a level that, your relationship capital, so that
Right.
private money, seller financing, it either takes extreme
That's one of the
skills.
hardest things to finance right there.
Yeah, right. And so especially the ground up part, right? I mean, Leon Johnson is the only person I know who has gotten a seller to both finance a property and finance his rehab. So it's not impossible, but at the same time, he is a, multiple, black belt, whatever degree
Right.
in the world. And so it's also a skill level thing, right? And so I
Well, let's
definitely,
talk about how you finance that really quick.
yeah,
Because I just did an hour and 45 minute Zoom in Inner Circle on this topic. We've got a lot of people in our inner circle that are building, and one of the ones that was on today is in Florida. They're getting ready to break ground on 115 units.
okay,
So the way that he did it is he got a tract of land and he got it with seller financing. So now he owns the land. He takes the land to the bank and the land becomes the down payment on the development.
okay. And then
So just like knowing
that's
things like that and being
that
around the
information,
right
yeah.
people and in the right environments can break things free.
And I think that that was a great, showcasing that because there's a level there, especially you just got to be a master of your craft. If especially when you're wanting to do different types of strategies, because financing looks different for different ones. Um, but then, any other thoughts you want to share just on debt or no debt?
Like I said, I love debt. I love it. You can pull money out tax free if you do a refi with a bank. You can get seller financing, all these things. You can always say you got to have wholesale price or wholesale terms. That's what Leon says. He's
Right.
right. But I do think it can change over time. I think um, as I get older myself, Courtney, at some point I'm going to deleverage more.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't want somebody to think the real estate debt is bad. I really like Dave Ramsey a lot because he helps the 99%.
Yeah.
The people on your podcast are not the 99%.
Yeah.
They're the 1%.
Yeah.
So don't let like bank financing scare you.
Yeah. No, I think that's very true. And there's a time and a place for Dave Ramsey in people's lives. Um,
Let me tell you this. I do think differently than a lot of people that if you get in the position to pay off your personal mortgage, that you should. And a lot of people disagree. And maybe like pure financial decisions, they might be right. But I'll tell you what happens when you do is you find the word freedom. I'm talking
yeah,
about peace and freedom. Get rid of
exactly.
all your debt. Get rid of your credit card debt, your car payment, and your personal mortgage, and
Yeah.
you'll have freedom.
Yeah. I think that there's a level in this conversation that freedom and peace part is a huge it's a part that we can't isolate. We can't just make it a numbers equation. There's got to be that frame and piece part because, as Bill Cook says, there's no happy button on the financial calculator. The
Um,
part that makes you sleep better at night. But well, Jim, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts on this. I
So
know that.
leverage up, know your financing, become a financing expert. Everyone
Yeah.
should listen to every episode you do, including the one with the amazing Peter Fortunato, my favorite episode, and learn this stuff because you can. And if you learn how to control debt and leverage right,
Yeah.
the rest of your world is going to open up, and it'll open up faster than you think it can.
Well, I love that, Jim. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts, and I'm looking forward to when we get to do an episode so people can get to know you more if they don't
Very
already know
soon.
you. And so I'm looking forward to that. Appreciate you sharing your thoughts.